Judge Jeannine has the future of FISA abusers hanging by a thread with her new revelation by US4Trump.com. Judge Pirro invited Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch, onto Fox News' Justice with Judge Jeannine. Specifically, they discussed the stunning revelation that no hearings were set in the FISA court regarding the stripping of the Fourth Amendment rights of fellow American Carter Page and the Trump campaign. It begs the larger question: if this can happen to Page and a presidential campaign, can it happen to you? Of course. First, let's define police state, since this phrase is thrown around a lot lately to describe the secret FISA court. Police state is defined by Merriam-Webster as an arbitrary exercise of power by police, and especially secret police, in place of regular operation of administrative and judicial organs. The FISA court is a secret court designed to oversee requests for surveillance warrants against foreign spies inside the United States. The FISA court did not provide oversight for American citizen Page or the Trump campaign. Fitton told the judge in a blockbuster revelation they finally admitted late this week that there were no hearings. 4 different courts decided they didn't have any need to conduct any hearings on this effort to surveil an associate of the president or then-candidate Trump, Tom Fitton declared. Furthermore, Tom said the most recent warrant was signed by Rod Rosenstein under Mueller's investigation. In the secret FISA court, just a rubber stamp factory to spy on Americans. Fitton told America to think about the initial corruption of the warrants themselves. Moreover, the fact that the courts were relying on to provide oversight here, and instead it looks like they rubber stamped these corrupt FISA applications, he said. They asked no question of the government when they targeted the Trump team, Fitton informed us. The FISA applications target the Trump campaign. When you look at the warrant applications, you know what they are after. They were after Donald Trump, Fitton said pointedly. When the initial application was filed, Carter Page tried to fight back and Comey shot him down. The application notes that Page sent a letter to then FBI Director James Comey to deny the accusation 2 days after a news story came out stating that Page was under investigation. Judge Jeannine asked, how unusual is it to get a warrant to surveil an American citizen? It strikes me as rather unusual and outrageous that they didn't ask any questions or conduct any hearings regarding an investigation or surveillance of someone associated with Donald Trump, Fitton told Jeannine. In ending, Fitton said, are they blithely just rubber stamp spy warrants that are really asked for only by the government? Again, he told us there's no one else there to say, hey, you should think twice about this. We rely on the courts to provide the oversight here, and it isn't happening. The FISA court process resulted in a corrupt process with the unverified dirty dossier. Judge Jeannine mentions that Supreme Court John Roberts has been called upon to check out the situation with the FISA court, and that is a big deal. President Trump described the dossier corruption best when he tweeted, former Secret Service agent Dan Bongino, here it is, you have a fake dossier gathered by Steele, paid by the Clinton team, actually Hillary Clinton and the DNC, to get information on Trump. The dossier is fake. Nothing in it has been verified. It then filters into our American court system in order to spy on Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton's political opponent, Donald Trump. And now we find out there wasn't even a hearing, that Donald Trump's Fourth Amendment right to privacy was signed away, and someone in there is swearing that this stuff is true when it wasn't. This is the scandal here. A police state, Dan Bongino. Absolutely. They just signed off on it, rubber stamped it, and got it. And that can happen to anybody, and that's disgusting, actually. I mean, really. So watch as Fitton and Pirro discuss the latest regarding the dirty dossier and the FISA court. Tom Fitton came on Justice to discuss new details about the FISA application regarding Carter Page.
The Justice Department confirms to Judicial Watch that no hearings were conducted regarding the FISA surveillance of Carter Page. Here to talk about it, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton joins me now. Tom, I have to say this, and I do every time I have you on my show, but for you, we wouldn't know anything. We'd be, backwards and going in reverse on all of this stuff that's been going on. What you are telling us tonight is huge, and that is there was no hearings on any of the warrant applications that resulted in a order for surveillance of the Trump campaign. Talk to us about the significance of that.
Well, that's right. We were asking for documents about the FISA warrants. We got the warrant applications heavily redacted. And then we said, well, were there hearings? And they said they couldn't tell us one way or another. And they finally admitted to us late this week that there were no hearings. There were four. There was the initial warrant application, right, 3 renewals, and 4 different courts decided they didn't need to conduct any hearings on this effort to surveil an associate of the president or then candidate Trump. And the most recent renewal was signed by Rod Rosenstein under Mueller's investigation. So it raises questions about, we've got the initial corruption of the warrants themselves, but the courts we're relying on to provide oversight here. And instead it looks like they rubber stamped these corrupt FISA applications and asked no questions of the government when they were targeting the Trump team. When you look at the warrant applications, you know what they're after. They were after Donald Trump, and the courts didn't even bring them in to ask him questions about it.
Okay, it is, you know it and I know it, but tell my viewers how unusual it is to get a warrant to surveil an American citizen that is repeatedly re-upped without a hearing. Wouldn't the judge want someone to testify that this is right, this is new, this is what we learned in the last 90 days?
Well, this is a classified court process. Unfortunately, it's not that unusual for the FISA courts to conduct no hearings. It strikes me as rather unusual and outrageous that they didn't ask any questions or conduct any hearings regarding an investigation or a surveillance of someone associated with Donald Trump. I just can't believe the courts were so oblivious to the importance of what they were being asked to do. And it raises questions as to how that court is operating generally. Or they just blithely rubber stamp spy warrants that are really asked for only by the government. There's no one else there to say, hey, you should think twice about this. We rely on the courts to provide the oversight here, and it isn't happening. And it's led to this corrupt FISA court process or warrant process that's resulted from a dossier that was mishandled and misleadingly used to get the spy warrants to begin with.
And I talk about this in Liars and Leakers, and the truth is that if you've got a judge who's been conned, you and I both know that they would be dragging those U.S. attorneys and those FBI agents and any affiant on that warrant application to court. But it appears that nothing is being done, which is why there have been calls for John Roberts to do a review himself, the Supreme Court Justice. But as far as I'm concerned, if they have this surveillance against a presidential candidate and his operation, it is almost prima facie evidence of a campaign seeking to just oversee what's going on with the other campaign.
Yeah, you had the administration allowing this awesome power it has, which is to get spy warrants, in secret, essentially, abusing that process, abusing that power to spy on its political opposition, namely the Trump team. And this isn't about Carter Page, this is about Donald Trump. When you review the warrants, you see the focus is on getting to candidate number one, Donald Trump. And frankly, the courts were out to lunch here because the subsequent renewals raised questions about Christopher Steele, the source, and they didn't think enough to bring them in and ask more questions in a hearing. Incredible.
Gotta go. Tom Fitton, thanks as always.
And not only that, did you notice that they also raided Donald Trump's attorney's office? Okay, yeah, the attorney shouldn't have taped Donald Trump and whatnot, but again, client attorney privilege, I mean, that's unheard of, right? Like, did you ever hear of something like that? In other words, the attorney is supposed to represent you and keep you out of trouble, so to speak. That's why you hire them. And yet, Mueller just went and raided Cohen's office. I mean, can you imagine if Trump started raiding Hillary's offices and homes and whatnot? I mean, and like they did with Manafort, with armed FBI agents and whatnot. You know, I mean, this is a real abuse of power. Absolute real abuse of power. Not only with the FISA, also in, raiding people for no apparent reason, no proof whatsoever. Just raid them, you know? What is that? It is like a police state. It's kind of scary, right? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.